at Town Hall. I welcome you. I want to remind you that the meeting is being videotaped and broadcast live on Channel 18. It's also available video on demand afterwards on the town website. So let's start with Jane. Jane's told me that she does need to leave early. And Jane, I think I know what subject you're going to lead with because I see a video up on the screen.
Well, actually, I'll end with that.
All
I'll
right.
lead with the others. So I'm just going to give you some updates of things and projects, efforts that I've been involved with. It's this time of year is always really busy for us, but on the health and building side of my work. But we really are straight out full speed ahead on the environmental side as well. So first of all, related to the municipal water project, I really don't have to go into the details there because as you know, our town website posts the updates weekly. They're doing a great job of keeping current with all of the project details. And so I'm just going to refer everyone to our homepage, and they can click on that link and see the updates and read about the various contracts.
Could I make one comment?
Sure.
On an iPhone, it's almost impossible to find the water stuff. I mean, when I go on my main computer, there's a thing up in the right-hand corner, and you click it, and you get there. Somebody asked me because they want, and it took me through screen after screen. I couldn't find a heading that said, wouldn't it?
You can substitute, you don't have to go, hi. You don't
Oh,
have
but
to.
there's the other, but I
you
wasn't
don't-
thinking.
Suzanne.
Remembering that.
You just take the regular, www, and you can go directly to it. It's like www.weebly or
It's
something like
no,
that.
I didn't even remember about that.
Okay,
because
that's
that is
that's the easiest way to do it, if you're not gonna do it on the
Yeah,
computer.
but I think there should be a thing so that on the on an iPhone it comes up just like it does on my iPad.
Okay.
As a comment, maybe you could just
Okay,
ask
I
the
can-
techie person.
I can look into that for you.
Thank you.
But, when you are at home, at least on a computer, you can certainly find the updates for the water system. And again, Environmental Partners is the contract coordinator, and they are available if individual homeowners have questions regarding service, regarding when the system will be in their particular neighborhood, and so forth. So the contact information is on the website.
Jane, they
Yes.
also mentioned at their last update that they're gonna have a public information session in July.
Okay,
Which I
thank
guess will
you.
be here in Town Hall.
Okay, great. And I want to talk about a couple of projects that I had actually applied for grant funding on, and the money has come forward in a different manner than I had anticipated. I had originally applied for a technical assistance grant and for an EPA grant. And these two projects actually now are currently funded by the Cape Cod Commission, and some of the money that they received from the Department of Environmental Protection to implement some of the approaches identified in the 208 Clean Water Regional Update Plan. And those involve salt pond, permeable reactive barrier, initial site characterization, and also looking at bioretention or some bioremediation aspect of a stormwater improvement at that same location that drains into Salt Pond, which is there's a huge outfall there if you haven't seen it or ever walked around the perimeter of the driveway that goes around Salt Pond. It's a huge outfall. So those two projects have actually, we are fast track working on deliverables that will be completed by June 30th. The PRB obviously it's a project that's supported by the Cape Cod National Seashore because the monitoring wells will be located on their federal property. When I originally wrote the grant over a year ago now, I asked for the Cape Cod National Seashore support in this investigation and in pursuit of trying to secure the funding, and I did receive their support. However, now that the money is here, there's a lot of practical approvals that are required, as you might appreciate, when you're talking about federal property that's has a high level of historical significance, and archaeology is very important and very, so everything that's done there requires an extremely thorough review process by many entities and partners in the Cape Cod National Seashore Network. So receiving the money so promptly and having to complete the work under such a short timeline is challenging. However, it does appear that the work is on target. So the locations have been identified. We did a walkthrough with Cape Cod Commission staff. DigSafe has been done, and if all the permits and approvals are received from the Cape Cod National Seashore, Cape Cod Commission, who has contracted AECom as a private contractor to complete the work, will be installing those monitoring wells. And this is really just an evaluation of this site for potential further exploration as to is this a suitable site for a demonstration project that would employ permeable reactive barriers as a mechanism to intercept the groundwater plume that is heading to Salt Pond. So if this didn't work out, we had a fallback approach that we were planning to relocate the monitoring wells on town-owned property, but it looks like it's a go. And if everything does proceed, the drilling will actually take place on the 20th, 21st of this month, and an archaeologist will have to be present for the first 5 feet of the dig to make sure that they don't hit any artifacts or disturb an area that might be of historical significance. So that's very exciting. We've worked long and hard to try to get this project prioritized, and I think now that we have a lot of partners that feel that this is a very, very important investigation, and we'll see what the hydrogeology and the stratigraphy bears out in terms of, is this type of application suitable for Salt Pond Visitor Center area?
Jane, so what has to be finished by June 30th is the monitoring wells, right?
The monitoring wells would be installed. There's a contractor in line to install the monitoring wells under the supervision of the archaeologist and AECom, but we have to receive a series of permits and approvals
Now, I
from the
understand that,
seashore.
but when you said the work has to be completed by June 30th,
Because
the
the
work you
money-
were talking to was the drilling of the wells is what has to be completed.
All of the work paid for contractors to conduct work under the study.
Have they paid for anything else besides the drilling of the wells?
Well, AECom is the consultant.
Yeah, I mean, everything associated with the drill. Now, I'm trying to figure out when in this whole scenario, this is related to the PRBs and the bioremediation approach. Do the PRBs actually go in?
No,
or
this is
anything?
an investigation.
Okay.
It's called an initial site characterization. So
Okay.
we are a very long way away from implementation of anything.
Okay.
Right now, the first phase of this is getting the permits to put monitoring wells in the ground, which are like 2-inch monitoring wells.
Okay.
And that's,
How deep do you go?
they're probably going to go down about 80 feet. They're going to put in multivariant monitoring wells to be able to take water samples at different elevations in the water table, and to go back and repeat this as necessary to determine the content of nitrate, nitrogen series in the groundwater profile. So no, this is not implementation of a solution to the problem. This is an investigation of the site, which is drilling monitoring wells, defining groundwater elevations, testing the groundwater and determining some level of soil profiling.
You're finding the current conditions, basically. It's your baseline.
Yes, it's a baseline
It's a baseline.
evaluation of the site. And then if it proved to be a suitable site, there would be an expansion of the site characterization. So this is step one, but it's step one. In terms of the stormwater, a totally different program. Stormwater, we had approached a Mass DOT, Department of Transportation. We got on there, it's called TIP, the TIP program, Transportation Improvement Program list. It's very bureaucratic, way beyond my grade level here. I'm not a civil engineer, but it's a long process. We also, in terms of improving the stormwater and the drainage that goes collectively from quite a distance into Salt Pond and adds what we feel to the degradation of the water body, we wanted not only to improve the stormwater system, but also to install a nitrogen reduction bioremediation approach that would not just deal with volatiles and so forth off of the road and sediments, but also reduce nutrient loading in a passive manner. So again, civil engineering is required to design that portion of the program, and that is separate from a DOT-funded source. So we have, again, the Cape Cod Commission funding through the 208 pool of money, working with AECOM again as the civil engineers, environmental engineers, actually designing and evaluating a couple of options at that site. So again, we did a site walk with Cape Cod Commission and also National Seashore staff. So those two things are underway, and we'll have some deliverables by, it's a rush, but we're going to get some information by the end of the month. So,
Wow.
so those two things, very, very excited about. Also, just in coordination with this work, we're also still working very hard on the environmental investigation downgrading of the landfill. Administration and our consultants with environmental strategies and management, myself, environmental partners, we went up to DEP in Lakeville last week and had a very good meeting with a collective body of department heads there, talking about we're going to have to modify our immediate response action plan, and so we needed them to be updated as to the hydrogeology and our strategy, and brainstorm with us. This is the largest investigation or release of this type that's ever occurred in Massachusetts. So we are the poster child for this type of large-scale improvement, if you will, and the process is very convoluted and complicated. So we really wanted to make sure, as partners with us in this effort, we're all on the same page and could reach some mutual agreement. And I think that happened. I think we walked away with a very good idea about how we're going to move forward, and those will shape the next couple of reports that we filed with DEP. So, and it was also helped to inform the selectmen in their strategy and policy development related to water, which is still ongoing, and I can't really comment on. But so that's the landfill. The last thing before we get to the MEP sampling program is the work with GHD. So working with our wastewater consultants, we have been working very hard putting together watershed reports in compliance with our responsibility as water management agency here in Eastham. We have 5 watershed reports that are in draft form right now. I can't really share the details. They're really just, they are in draft. There's a lot of factual information that will serve as a template for us moving forward. And one of the sort of overlapping issues here is that one of our watershed reports is actually connected to the 2 technical memorandums that our consultant is also developing. So it's there's a little more meat behind those 2 reports, and we're just trying to integrate this all together. So we will be meeting our deadline, which is June 30th. The hybrid reports will be done by that time. We expect to be able to provide the Cape Cod Commission with a draft report at the Cape Summit Conference, which is coming up next week, Thursday and Friday of next week. We will not probably have final reports at that time, but we do have a lot that we have accomplished in the last couple of months. So I'll be able to update you when those reports are final and when the dust clears here. So that is the information related to the watershed reports. And the last thing is the MEP sampling program. Again, in our hybrid approach to particularly my focus and my highest priority is Salt Pond and Town Cove. And we really wanted to, with our watershed hybrid reports, show that not only are we writing a report, but we're actually trying to develop partnerships and institute piloting approaches to the problems we're seeing there. So that includes the permeable reactive barrier, the stormwater improvement, and lastly, the enhanced sampling program in conjunction with the town of Orleans. So the town of Orleans has been doing sampling in Nauset Estuary for more than 10 years. We have benefited from their continued work in Salt Pond, and Charles Harris actually has been sampling that location at their expense for many years. They provided the data to us, and we did a trend analysis, which informed us that indeed the water quality is deteriorating and becoming more eutrophied with time. So at this point in time, citizens in Orleans wanted to expand their MEP sampling program, and I think it was a perfect opportunity for us to join forces and collectively be boots on the ground involved in developing and collecting those samples. So I've been working with Carolyn Kennedy, who is the volunteer coordinator in Orleans. She's done a tremendous amount of work for the town of Orleans and has a great value in terms of the knowledge that she's has accumulated over these many years of the practical aspects of sampling. So I'm going to be learning a lot. We are going to be following the protocols that the Pleasant Bay Alliance has developed many years ago, more than 10 years ago. And Bob Duncanson is the director of the Health and Environmental Department there in Chatham. He will be actually doing the training. And we have a schedule of training that is available for anyone that's interested. We do want people that are going to be collecting samples to participate in the 2-hour training if you're a novice, or the 1-hour refresher if you're a veteran and have done this before. Because we need to have confidence that the volunteers know how to use the equipment, are comfortable out in the water, taking the measurements and so forth. If, however, we have the need for other volunteers, such as people that will be collecting the water samples and delivering them to Chatham. And I certainly I want to encourage anyone that just has an interest to hear more about the science and just be present and participate, to join us, even if you don't have a commitment or desire to actually participate. And so what we've done in the health department is really took, just working in collaboration with Pleasant Bay Alliance, their sampling chart, the time frames, and we put it on our website. The website, I handed out the, this is what's shown on our, if you go to the health department website, there is a link called Massachusetts Estuaries Project, and it will give you a brief description of the project that we are going to be involved with in collaboration with the town of Orleans on that link. It also provides you with the sampling dates and times, and also the training sessions. So again, if you're a new volunteer, the training opportunity is Thursday, June 23rd, and it's going to take place at Orleans Town Hall from 4:30 to 6:30. And it'll be a hands-on, getting your hands wet, working with the equipment, understanding how this is done. And then the following week, we're actually going to meet here at Eastham Town Hall and just gather together the Nauset Estuary volunteers to talk about this particular estuary and things that are slightly different in terms of sample collection and process from Nauset Estuary to what's done in Pleasant Bay. So, and I think it'll be an opportunity for us to meet each other and to hopefully, for me, as somewhat of a coordinator on the Eastham side, to make sure that everybody has all the information they need, contacts, procedures, protocols, etc. So that is the information. Again, if, check out our web page, and you'll notice at the bottom, I'm going to continue to build on this. I have a new administrative assistant, and she's done a phenomenal job in improving my life in general. But in terms of this website, I think it's really user-friendly. So you'll notice at the bottom there are links to, if you want to read the draft report or the volunteer handbook and a map of the sampling sites and so forth. And I'm going to try to keep this updated and keep us all on the same page. So that is that. And the other thing, I just wanted to show everyone that we will have our Natural Resources Department offered to go out to the monitoring locations that we're going to be sampling this year and put these markers. They're not to be, your boat is not to be anchored to these. They're just a marker for the sampling location. You're going to have to drop anchor or, yeah. So that you can see, just so you're familiar, so we have a number of water monitoring stations, and they'll be labeled, and you can see that the town of Eastham's name is on the other side. So we have these, and we have the GPS coordinates, and they will be just going out and tying these down to cinder blocks. Not blocking any channels or anything of that nature. But so Paul Lag has been very helpful. We're trying to put together on the administrative end a mechanism for tracking the water quality data for the next 3 years, and also providing an ability for us to take pictures and mark these locations and so forth. So again, I'd like to acknowledge him and thank him for all the work he's done with me on that. And hopefully that will be something in terms of future presentations and so forth that we can add to. So with that, Mike actually, and the local channel, which is channel 99,
Before you
Lower
move on
Cape.
to that, can I ask you
Sure.
one question? Aquatic Control Technologies, you were getting in touch with them about a date. Have they gotten back?
I have not. I actually called them once. They did not return the call, and I meant to call last week, and I did not. So I need to follow up with them. I know they've done treatment at Brewster, and I was hoping that they were going to come here at the same time, but that will definitely be something. I'll do it when I get back to my office today.
Because I guess soon we'll run out of time. There'll be too much growth. Wasn't that the problem last year?
Well, no, the
It's
problem
very slow
last,
this year. We're way
Well, but
behind on
I
growth.
think you need to make certain we get in there while they can decide what the species
Right.
are.
I agree. So I'd like to acknowledge Mike and Raphael, they, from Lower Cape TV, Channel 99. They offered to do a public service announcement for us. So just to basically announce that the two towns are working in partnership and to hopefully inform people of what we're doing and to encourage people to volunteer and participate with us, because I think it's going to be great. So this is what they put together, and it will be airing soon. Just finished
Hi, I'm
today.
Carolyn Kennedy, the volunteer sampling coordinator from Orleans.
And I'm Jane Crowley, health agent from the town of Eastham.
Today we are here to talk about a joint partnership between Eastham and Orleans to continue a 20-year tradition of volunteer water quality sampling. Orleans citizens began water quality monitoring in the late 1990s to determine the source of shellfish contamination in Meeting House Pond, a saltwater pond in the Pleasant Bay estuary. The results led to a realization that stormwater runoff into our estuaries contaminated our waters with bacteria, and that further nutrients from septic systems led to a growth of nuisance algae in our waterways. The School of Marine Science and Technology at UMass Dartmouth established a sampling program that involved 100 volunteers in 2003, testing every stream and water body that drained into our estuaries. Orleans joined Harwich and Chatham to sample all of Pleasant Bay. Now we are mounting an effort to add 14 more sampling stations this summer in Town Cove and Nauset Marsh to re-examine these areas. The towns of Eastham and Orleans have agreed to make this a joint venture in the summer of 2016 and probably several summers to come. We need to recruit the next generation of volunteers, folks with powerboats and kayaks who are willing to help. This requires a 2-hour training session in June and a commitment to join a small team of 2 to 3 people who will visit a sampling station on 5 designated mornings in July, August, and September. It takes about an hour each time. All of the measurements of water temperature and dissolved oxygen and bottles filled with water are gathered that morning and sent directly to the university laboratory for analysis. A background in science is not necessary. We are looking for adults, or it might be a parent and a teen or college student, who are willing to take the training and enjoy 5 early mornings out on the water. We are particularly in need of folks this summer who can volunteer boats in Town Cove, the channels of Nauset Marsh, Woods Cove, and Roberts Cove. Volunteers are also needed in Little Pleasant Bay. Together, we can gather the data necessary, design the right size systems to clean up our waters. Some cleanup will require wastewater collection and treatment systems. In other places, oysters and other natural means will be used to significantly reduce cleanup costs. Together, we can reduce the pollution in the beautiful watersheds we share: Rock Harbor, Nauset, and Town Cove.
Eastham and Orleans are here to announce expanded water quality monitoring for Nauset Estuary. Over the next 3 consecutive years, our goal is to provide current water quality data to recalibrate or update the MEP model. This coordinated effort will allow us to collect water quality samples for 3 consecutive years from the same locations used in environmental studies from 2001 to 2003. Eastham will be responsible for 6 of these stations. What is the problem? Excessive nitrogen poses a major threat to water quality in our estuaries. Estuaries are a place of transition from land to sea, where fresh water to salt water is influenced by the tides but protected from the full force of ocean waves. Too much nitrogen in the watershed impact water quality in the coastal estuaries. We need to reduce controllable nitrogen loads from sources including wastewater, stormwater, and fertilizer. Why do we need to collect water quality samples? Accurate water quality data is necessary to implement remediation strategies that will be effective. we need to know how much nitrogen to remove to restore a healthy ecosystem. Earlier water quality data provided an estimate of nutrients, but additional sampling will refine that information. How can you help us? Join us in this opportunity to make things better for generations to come. No job experience is required. You don't have to be an expert. Training will be provided in your working teams. If you have a boat, kayak, or the desire to participate, give us a call. Volunteers are essential to reduce the cost of this testing program. You can help make a difference and get some exercise at the same time.
Please call the Town of Eastham Health Department or the Town of Orleans Planning Department. Leave your contact information. We thank you.
Nice.
Okay, Fox News isn't gonna be calling, but we do appreciate their work, and I think they did a really nice job of documenting the volunteer effort to this date and to, you know, just piecing it together on a visual level. So, you know, it's a work in progress. So we'll see where we go, and we'll see who shows up in terms of the training. But again, there will be other opportunities. I know, Adele, you can't attend the training, but we will need people delivering the samples to Chatham. So it's just another piece of how to coordinate, how to get the samples there and all of that. So I have some equipment delivered to Orleans. I'm gonna pick that up. And again, we're all gonna be learning at the same time. And hopefully everything goes perfectly well and we don't have any snags, thunderstorms, or disasters occur. But, you know, whatever. It's a start, so that's pretty much it.
Great, Jane. Very well done. That video was very helpful. Jane, I may have intruded here when I should not. I made a copy of the email that you sent me that had the dates in it,
Okay.
and I passed it out as a handout. But the handout that you is much better. So I was going to just suggest to the table to just give me back the copy of the email so you don't end up with two papers when you only need one.
So, and on this last page of the handout that I provided, you know, we will be building, as I said, as we assign people to different efforts and stations, and, you know, people might not be available 5 days, so it might be job sharing, you know, that type of thing, that people that may not, you know, be available for the 5 different days that sampling is required. So, we'll
Do you
see
have
how
a
it goes.
backup day if any
Scott
bad
needs one of
day?
those, we were short
Sure.
one.
Thank you.
So,
You said
and-
8, I only see 7.
7,
Water modeling, the
well,
East Ham's
we're
available.
not doing 40, originally crossed 40 out.
That's good, that's a hard one to get to.
Yeah, we went out last year, Carolyn and I, with our natural resource officers, and tried to get to the exact location by GPS coordinates of the original sites. And 40 is actually now a marsh area.
Because it's now covered
It's
by
gone.
reeds.
Right, it's like on ground.
It's like the spit.
Yeah, so, you know, you know, we had talked about, you know, moving it out a little bit. It gets really dangerous out there, and I thought I didn't want to lose anybody, especially in the first year of my
A little
involvement.
embarrassing, I think.
Right, so I thought, really, is that absolutely critical? They are doing, the Center for Coastal Studies is actually doing some offshore sites. So it was agreed by the scientists up at SMAS that one we can skip. When you look at 39, again, I talked a little bit about the partnership and the importance of a partnership with the Cape Cod National Seashore. Clearly, they have a very large physical presence in the town of Eastham. They occupy about a third of our town. And we have a mutual goal. We want to improve the water quality. So I approached staff there. I know this is their very, very, very busy time of year, but I got support from Sophia Fox, who is the aquatic program director. She has a very long multi-hat title, but she's their research director. And I asked if the Seashore would take the site, and I think it's critical that they're involved. It's really much more important than taking the sample. I want to be able to share the data with them and have full conversations about our joint approaches and trying to make some improvement and some community education, and they are totally on the same page. So there's a lot to be gained from this partnership, not only with Orleans, but with Cape Cod National Seashore. So they will be, as far as I know, taking Site 39, and that's probably off of Tomahawk in that area there. So it's it's directly in Seashore property. So makes sense, and they do a tremendous amount.
They're monitoring a lot of ponds.
Yeah, they do a tremendous amount of water quality sampling based on their own schedule for particular reasons. So they can't just substitute information. We have to work on the same tide cycles and same days of collection and time frame. So that's.
Is it 2014, Matt? Is that what this says at the bottom, aerial photo, 2014?
It might be. Probably.
Is
Um,
it
Paul-
aerial, not a satellite?
Paul Lag put the
It says aerial.
I know it says
GPS.
aerial, but
I
almost
wasn't
all this
there.
stuff is satellite these days.
I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But
So
I guess it's 2014. I guess that's because I'm wondering knowing how things move around.
well, this is a whole lot better than what was in the
Yeah.
MEP report, because that was
Yeah.
from 2001 to 2003.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even look the same.
Yeah.
So
And there was a channel, I don't know whether
Oh,
the spin is
channel
moved with the
moves.
channel, but there was a channel that went straight out to the break.
But I think it
I
has.
think
Yeah,
there's
it's
now
all
two
different
channels.
now.
Are there
Years
two
ago.
channels
Yeah.
now?
It splits and goes down towards Tomahawk.
Are there two channels?
Yeah, there's two in there now, and I don't see them.
So the thing in the middle that everybody was arguing about is now not attached to anybody.
Right.
And the red ones are Orleans and the yellow
right,
ones are
or
East Ham.
Orleans is, this isn't the whole map, but yeah, the red
Yeah,
ones
this
are
page
Orleans.
is just
Yeah.
one page.
And,
Those are the ones
and
that-
Jane, it appears from just counting up the folks you sent an email to, we've got 15 or so folks
You know,
volunteering?
I have a group email that started, and so anyone that was presented to me by third parties of someone that had an interest or had sampled or had said that they might be interested is getting emails from me. I had a couple bounce back wrong addresses. So I'm hoping through the outreach that people get the word on the training times. I will be sending out another group email, and I hope people aren't offended by this. I hate getting, redundant emails myself, but I wanted to send out a reminder, and I thought the group of people that might be interested was a group of emails that I had collected when we were doing pond remediation work. And as events or opportunities would come up about workshops or whatnot, I would send out an email just informing people. So I'm planning to send out just, here's our website, take a look at this link. If you're interested, please join us. So we'll see how many volunteers we get at the end of the day. I did get confirmation, either directly or from Sandy Bain, that the total was about 7 people had told me that they were gonna show up at the training.
7, you say?
How many do you need?
It depends on actually who shows up. And also, we have to kind of work it out. That's what's left to be done. So we have, hopefully, the Seashore doing 39, so we're left with 5 sites. I actually have reached out to Nauset Goose Hummock, and they've offered to have a boat. They had been assisting the town of Orleans doing one of their stations, I think it was 27, I'm not sure which one it was, but they offered to have a boat available and a captain of the boat to bring us to 28 and 29. So again, there's just coordination on the administrative end. So I think I've got those handled in terms of a boat. So it's just, lining the people up with the,
Yeah,
it's like planning a wedding is the way I'm looking at it.
You could send an email to the Friends of the National Seashore and see if they would.
Again, I don't want to, I'm not
I
trying to
understand
beg or,
that. I understand that,
just
but-
trying to, yeah.
Well, I mean, I knew a lot of the people that you have on your list already.
Yep. So I'm going to send out to, again, if you have someone you think might be interested, just forward it on to them, and we'll see who comes, and maybe we're overwhelmed with volunteers, and that will be a great thing.
You should be so lucky.
I know, so I'm thinking it will be great, so.
Jane, I was going to make a comment that that there was the article in the Cape Codder back on the 20th of May that seems like it was drawing information from both you and Jane and Carol and Kennedy. So this also helps get the word out.
Yep, and the Pleasant Bay Alliance, we are coordinated with them. We are not recreating the wheel. Carolyn Kennedy has been, as I said, sampling 3 sites in Nauset Estuary over the many years, but we're following the protocol established by Pleasant Bay, modifying it a slight bit, but the alliance there has been gracious and welcoming and helpful to us, to me, and offering, Bob Duncanson offering to do this training, so at no expense to the town of Eastham. So it's been very welcoming, and I hope we'll learn from their experience, and we'll see where we go.
It's good.
So most of the boats would probably be going in Hemingway or Salt Pond?
Well, we have Salt Pond Natural Resources has the boat that has been going out to that location, and they've agreed to do that one. So we have 37 and 36 that we need to get to. And so we also need, so we need more than one person, and the teams might need, like I said, a break. It's, summertime, we all have family and friends coming and so forth. So try to have backups to the backups even. And it's 3-member teams usually, because you need to log the information. It can get windy, and so, yes, we could do kayaks. I don't know if, it would be my number 1 choice personally, but it gets windy out there. So,
Horseflies, too.
yeah, exactly.
Right in the peak of horsefly
Tide
season.
running against you.
There's all that. So,
Kayaks are fun.
if we can get a little motorboat, I think that probably will be our best,
I have 2 options. One's a 11-foot aluminum with a 2-horse, and the other's a 18-foot with a 100-horse.
yeah,
That can only go on Goose Hummock, though. That's
okay.
where it has to be.
So maybe the little guy, because these aren't, this 36 and 37, so if you go right out from Hemingway, that's like, it's
Yeah, right.
literally straight across.
Yeah, I can, but there are a lot of times.
And we took pictures, Sandy Bain and I went out and we took pictures from the land, and last year I took pictures from the water. So, and we'll have these things out there. You can't anchor to them, like I said, but, so that's directly across the channel, so that's definitely doable with a 2 horsepower. And then this 37 is just up the way.
Yeah.
So that would be perfect. I mean, and then, that's why Goose Hummock, they can't get there, it's too shallow. So if we
Oh,
get,
they must have a fairly big boat.
yeah, they're going on a big boat.
Mine's an outboard, I could get in there, but I can't launch there.
Yeah, so if you're willing, okay, so,
Well, you want it,
and I know you said you were gonna go to the training too, right?
Right, my wife too.
Yep, so you were 2 of my 7. So that's, I think that's perfect. And, you know, but we might need a backup, so if, you know, something happened to your motor, something happened, you know, you can't make it. So that's kind of where we're going with this backup planning.
So I guess that covers it.
All right, I'm gonna get these down to
Right.
natural resources.
All right, let me see. I've got some just points of information I thought we could probably deal with. Wanted you to know that we have another member joining our group, a fellow by the name of Jeff Bumby.
I know him.
You know him, and he's
He was appointed under the name John. I don't know if he goes by Jeff, but that was
Yes,
the
he
name.
goes
oh, okay.
By Jeff.
Well,
Well, on the appointment list, they listed him, unless they made a mistake, they listed him as John Bowman.
that may be a mistake. He's
Don't win
Jeff
anything.
C. Bumby,
Okay.
630 Samoset
He's
Road.
just built his house.
Yes, he's just built a house. He's on a vacation starting today, as he told me, but he will be here next week. So that's part of our effort of recruiting more members. I would also call your attention to the fact that this is Janet's last meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, she will
Thank
be
you,
going on.
Thank you.
Janet, 3 years, 9 months,
Yes.
according to my
Yes.
calculations. And of course, Janet is the person who's basically led the effort to do the pond brochure. So that's quite a bit of work done in three
Not too
years
bad,
and 2
not too
months.
bad.
Yeah, very good. Let's see, some other points I just, all right, don't see that. Okay, Marsh Town Cove, I think Jane has covered the work that GHD was doing. So it was an important thing to get that a submission into the Cape Cod Commission. Changing the subject, we still have continuing meetings for the Orleans Water Quality Advisory Panel. They're meeting tomorrow. I intend to go. They're quite along in their overall execution. On their agenda right now, they're talking about the advantage of public-private partnerships. In other words, the concept is that instead of a town government in Orleans operating a wastewater system, it would be operated by a private partnership with the town. I've noticed that concept is coming along more often in the engineering community. I'm not sure exactly how that fits in, but basically a company takes on as a contract, but on a very long-term basis, the operation of a particular facility, and which means that you have kind of institutional memory in your contract because you're contracted with an agency to do it, and which is the benefit of the staff being there on a longer-term basis. If it's perhaps shorter term, it might be turning over with the town. So I see that as a subject. They're also talking about their financial plan. They're going to be talking about aquaculture, permeable reactive barriers, floating constructed wetlands, and their monitoring plan, all of which, in my mind, are the right things to be talking about at this stage in doing that particular project. Let's see, let's talk about Tri-Town. I did put on the back of your agendas the schedule for things that are happening at Tri-Town. Tri-Town being the septic plant in Orleans that Brewster, Eastham, and Brewster, Orleans, and Eastham joined together apparently about 25 years ago to jointly own and operate. So that's closing. The schedule is there. It seems like that's pretty well in hand. I go to the management meetings of the Oversight Board once a month. Martin McDonald is the Eastham representative to that particular board. And it does seem like they have a contract with AECom to do the decommissioning and do the demolition. In other words, AECom is writing the contract, which would then go out for bid, and then a private company would be selected, and that private company would go through the process of taking down all of those structures. That happens over a fair amount of time. I can tell you that sitting in the meetings, they do talk about a concern that those buildings would be sitting empty for a long period of time. So that becomes a fire and a police requirement on the part of Orleans, just to see that mischief does not happen in that area. So and I can also tell you that apparently the haulers are not having any difficulty shifting to taking their loads of septage over to Dennis Yarmouth. And it does appear that the manager for Tri-Town and the folks at Dennis Yarmouth talk on a daily basis. So they essentially look out for customers having to go a particular place and making sure one of them is able to receive. And I guess Dennis Yarmouth probably does that with other plants as well, just such that things there is a service there. Let's see. On the pond brochure, I can tell you that Janet has given me a copy of all the distributions she's made in 2014, 2015, 2016. And she's also turned in all the brochures that she has not given out. So I have them now. I have about 1,150 at my house. Janet, you wrote down 410. Is that, I guess that's...
That's correct. That's wrong in my book. Here we go. I knew it was wrong at the time. And I know, you've still got some?
Yeah. I don't know, whatever you put in that little bag, is that 500?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Adele has some too.
Yeah.
Janet, I see that there's no brochures out on display at this end of the building, so I will...
Well, I gave them some.
well, I know there's some over in the health.
No, I gave them to the front desk where it says here, Town Hall on the 10th of May. I gave them 50.
Okay. I'll tell you what.
And you could put out some more and then you've less to take home.
I'll follow up on that. You know, just to honor your work that you've already done. I'll follow up on that one. Okay, so we have that. Let's see, before I move off too far away on Tri-Town, I do receive emails from Cape Cod Commission, and they have a final scope of work now looking for an engineering company that would do an assessment of all of the septic disposal needs on Cape Cod. And to some extent, that is triggered by the closing of Tri-Town, but not really. But it does appear that it's been a fair amount of time since they've done that particular piece of work. Obviously, they did something like that 25 years ago, which then caused the Tri-Town to come into existence. So, and as it turns out, AECom is popping up in a lot of different places, but they are the consultant that will do that particular assessment as a consultant to Cape Cod Commission. All right. Let me, Jane also mentioned that there is going to be an update and implementation conference on the Cape Cod Commission's work on 208 planning. That's the 23rd and 24th of June. I do plan to go. I don't know the timing in the agenda yet because it hasn't been posted. I checked yesterday. I don't know, Mike.
I checked 10 minutes ago before I came to the meeting. It's not posted yet.
Yeah.
Thursday morning starts at 10, Friday is 9 to 4. They don't give a closing time Thursday, but there is a dinner for the selectmen and town officials at 6. So I assume they'll close sometime before that.
Okay, what was the other one? You said 10 in the morning on the...
10 in the morning on Thursday, 9 to 4 on Friday.
9 to 4 Friday. Excellent, thank you. All right, the other topics here. Sandy Bain is in fact coordinating the PAL sampling of the ponds in Eastham for the summer. And as far as I know, all of them are on a reduced schedule. In other words, one in the spring and one in the fall.
Isn't that the way it's always been, or they did additional?
Well, they did a regular 5-time until the professionals said, we have enough precise data. If we just do spring and fall monitoring, we can pretty well frame in what's going on at the pond. I know, Adele, that you had brought up the subject of looking at the pond water quality data and seeing if current information couldn't be taken out of it. And I also saw some emails go by this past month asking about whether the state is going forward in republishing its state list of impaired waters.
Yeah.
You would raise that subject. Did you have anything more in that area?
Well, I'd originally thought of a letter, but before I started all this, I spoke to Sandy to confirm that I was correct, that there was no ongoing analysis. I mean, you got the numbers, and if you want to sit down and play with the numbers, but there's no one really doing a scientific evaluation of what the numbers mean. And when I spoke to her again, I found out that in the interim, she had approached Tom, I never get his name right, because I have a friend whose name is Camerari, and I always wanted, but that's not, it's like that, Tom, Cam,
oh,
whatever. It's similar to Camerari, but it's not Camerari. And it wasn't clear that anything was going to come of that. So I'm beginning to think whether it would be more profitable to talk to some of the other towns that are involved. Wellfleet and Provincetown don't have any skin in the game. All Wellfleet's ponds are in the National Seashore, so they're not responsible for them. The seashore takes care of them. And Provincetown, I don't think has anything to speak of. But like talking with Chatham and Brewster, and I mean Orleans is covered by the Pond Coalition, and seeing if people want to make some sort of a joint approach to the Cape Cod Commission, asking for this sort of assistance. So I was going to talk with Sandy and see if she thinks that's a possible thing to do, to talk with those other folks, who those folks would be. And maybe that would get somebody's attention. They would think it might be a worthwhile effort if more than one town asked for it.
yeah. Adele, can you remind me a little bit on that 303, what is it, D or something? D, yeah, list. Apparently there is some type of process in the state that requires the state to make a list of impaired waters every...
Yeah. But so far they haven't put the ponds on them, so that was one of the other issues. Was it possible that this time around they might consider adding the ponds to them? It was just like, it was a question was asked, would they do it? I never saw a response to it. So I think everybody's so focused on the estuaries. The Cape Cod Commission had said originally last year that they were going to turn their attention to the ponds, but I don't see that they've done that in any sort of organized way. I guess that there is, and I'm trying to remember what it was. They did put out some data. On some towns that had done pond treatment. Actually, I saw that in the newspaper. There's a newspaper article that was talking about what towns had done treatments, and they were citing the Cape Cod Commission as their resource, and I went to look to see if I could find it, and I couldn't, and then I got distracted, so I have to get back to that to see where it is she got this, unless she just got it by calling somebody and asking. But that's the sort of thing that I think, at that meeting last year when they talked about ponds, that I brought up that it would be very useful if they would collect the information of what various towns have done in pond treatment and what the results have been, so that every time you go to do a treatment, it wouldn't be like hunting all over to, see what you can find. It'll all be in one place.
And when you say they, you mean the state?
No, the Cape Cod Commission.
Oh, the Cape
Yeah,
Cod Commission. So Cape Cod Commission should put out a statement of impaired waterways?
No. There's two separate things. The impaired waterways is the MEP, that's SMAST at Dartmouth, the university. But the Cape Cod Commission had said that just as they've been working on the estuaries, they were going to turn their attention to ponds, and looking at ponds and that. And suggested that one of the things that the towns really needed was some sort of compilation of what all of the towns had done.
Okay.
What states their ponds were in, what treatments they had undertaken, what they felt the results of the treatments would be. I mean, the information is all out there, but in fact, as we found before we did Herring, you have to go around to various towns and ask them, and go looking for the literature to see if you can find out, did they file a report on this one or that one. And it seems to me that's not such a big deal to just get that all in one place, so it's readily available.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, I guess a couple other points here. Let's see. Association for the Preservation of Cape Cod. Joanne Muramoto's is one of the major staff person there. On the 18th of May, there was a small MS4 general permit for stormwater conference. It was in the afternoon, went about three and a half hours, and the effort was to talk about the changes that are being made to the federal regulations having to do with monitoring stormwater discharge. There's where we are at that particular point is that the EPA has come up with some changes to what is reported. And just to kind of remind folks, there's the existing requirement right now is such that in those agencies that are required to report, and we could say a city or a town, whether they are required to report depends upon how densely developed they are in terms of roads and houses and things like that. For instance, Eastham is required to report, but Wellfleet is not because it doesn't have the density of street and building development. It's just the way those rules are written right now. Well, they've come up with a 60-page revision, and they've collected some 600 pages of comments. And we are still in the comment period. And I guess the comment period closes, I think here, I didn't write it down exactly, but it's in July. I'm finding that all of these rules are quite hard to understand. I mean, the if the water is running off a road in one condition, it's not a reportable or trackable site. If it's coming off a road in another way, then it is. And I guess the professionals that work in this area have made the same comment. In other words, the process and the administration of the stormwater runoff needs some updating or tightening or improving. I have a notice that came out. EPA is seeking comment on proposed changes that include eliminating regulatory and application form inconsistencies, improving permit documentation, transparency and oversight, and clarifying existing regulations and deleting outdated provisions. Just my opinion, it appears to me that since we're dealing with the Clean Water Act, which is getting on 40 years old, some of the initial approaches that EPA wrote into the federal rules and actually then sent to the states, they are proving to be hard to administer. They're also proving to be not enough of a rule. In other words, some 40 years after we started to improve the quality of the water, surface waters that we have, we're finding that we've done all the things except tighten up on stormwater runoff. And the pollution that we find there today is something that can be done and something that can be addressed, is in fact doing a better job on stormwater runoff. And in that direction, one of the speakers, a person by the name of Dr. Joseph Costa, he was talked about a group of people in the Buzzard Bay area that were seems like on a citizen volunteer basis, they were going in and documenting as precisely as they can the nature of the discharges that were coming from stormwater. And let's see, so we're talking about Dartmouth, Fairhaven, Marion, Mattapoisett, Wareham, Bourne, and they were using some type of a computer app whereby they could go to a storm drain and they would be photographing it, and as near as I could tell, they actually were taking the lid off and photographing and essentially documenting how full they were of sediment or what other pipes were obviously visible that were illicit connections. As I say, I've only listened to this person speak once, but I was impressed by the depth of the effort. In other words, a computer app that would allow an individual to go to a site, make a record of it, send the site in, and to a larger rolling up of the data. And one of the comments that they were making was that tracking the illicit discharges and having something that feeds the schedule to go take the sediment out of the storm basin. That being just a piece of work that's got to get done. You've got to come up with a list of places to go to clean, and apparently there was not sufficient documentation in that area to get the ball rolling and go ahead and doing things. As I say, this was one speaker. It was on a voluntary basis, but it did sound like there was quite a bit of detail being put into it. And Let's see. All right, so that pretty well talks about that. I wanted to talk a little bit.
There was a newspaper article, I didn't know about this meeting, but I had read a newspaper article about it, and I think one of the things the article said anyway was that one of the changes, major sort of overarching changes in this thing, was that they were going to place a lot more responsibility on towns and municipalities for curing stormwater. And that apparently is a bone of contention. There are some people who think that's not a good idea, and there's some people who think it is. But I guess we'll see what happens. And I would say in terms of defense of the EPA, if you think back when the Clean Water Act was passed, it was 1976. Normally it takes a little time for an agency to get up and running. And by the time that they were really up and running and beginning to put out their regulations, along came 1980 and 1981, and one would say a rather major shift in at the federal level in terms of administrative agencies. So I think that may have hampered them perhaps in going as far as they might otherwise have in enforcing the Clean Water Act.
Yes, but it does, Adele, I'm getting that same feeling. It's a renewed effort. It's tightening up the way you do things, and it's because there is a need there. This fellow in the Buzzards Bay area was basically saying that the shellfish closed areas that they were experiencing a lot of them, and they were feeling that it was the stormwater was the thing that they needed to do to have the beds open and allow people to, have the pleasure of go out and collecting some shellfish. Let me talk a little bit about. I also went to the North American Lake Managers meeting. New England is a chapter unto itself, and they hold meetings. And I was there up on the 20th of May, and it was a group of perhaps about 100 people. It was a day and a half. It was in one of the conference-style motels in Marlborough, Massachusetts. I had been to 2 previously, and it's academics, it's the regulators, it's the industry that serves those areas, and a lot of pond and lake associations that are existing. And let's see, the lead fellow up there that's been apparently doing it for a number of years is a fellow by the name of Ken Wagner. He's an academic, I guess PhD. He's really enthusiastic about ponds and lakes, and he's very able. He knows the science quite well. So he started out by saying that lake management sits on a 3-legged stool. It's science, it's economics, and it's institutions. Some of the different workshops that I went to, they were talking about restoration of lakes through aeration and alum, and that's basically topics that we've been talking about. They talked about the choices of available herbicides for rooted aquatic plants. I didn't really know that there was a body of knowledge that's pretty extensive in that direction. I'm not sure that that fits our ponds on the Cape. And I say that basically from my knowledge of our sandy bottoms compared to some of the lake bottoms in the rest of New England and Massachusetts, where you do have a soil that can really grow some substantial aquatic plants. There was a workshop that talked about running an effective harvesting program, and there is in fact a lake pond out in the Berkshires with a very substantial group of folks that have gotten their Conservation Commission to allow them to have divers go in and hand harvest big aquatic plants growing on the bottom and up, submerged aquatic plants, and then going through and the diver is down there, and the diver is actually grabbing biomass and stuffing it into a bag, turning in the bag, and they're talking about disposal of 60 to 100 bags full of aquatic biomass. And and also essentially running a net through the area to catch anything that became broken, so they don't want it to float away and start a new plant someplace else. But I had no idea that there were folks going into things to that extent, so it certainly helped me understand things. There was another workshop on how to perform a tax value evaluation for lake property. I don't know if that really covers us that much, because, you know, all of the property here in Eastham would be considered kind of waterfront in a way, whether you're right on the water or whether you're back a half mile away or the ocean or whatnot. But other topics you can get into. There's, I also spoke a bit and went to one of the workshops where they have a device that will kill single-cell algae by sound waves. The device is about as big as a football, and you set it such that the sound waves travel the greatest distance in the pond. In other words, a pond would be shaped one way and shaped another. It would have a short side and a long side, so you shoot the sound waves the longest side, and it's $5,000 for the event, and it is very, very well sought at for golf course ponds, because golf course ponds pick up the excess nutrients from the grass and have the heaviest algae loads. But and it, you know, it didn't seem like it was too much of a high-risk policy. You have the thing, you install it, you turn it on, it does it, and you go on. I did pick up a video that talked about a lot of the pond management activities. I haven't looked at it, but I thought it was kind of nice, because in a way it kind of extends the technology base that people who go to these particular conferences listen to, and so I have a CD on that. I was also going to add sometimes some of these things you're not going to win very easily. They talked about killing single-celled algae when the bloom first came in the early part of summer. And they talked about the decomposing algae bodies then caused a second bloom later in the summer. You know, and you say, well, gee whiz, if the plant was hardier, it wouldn't have decomposed as fast, and then, so perhaps your bloom would have been the next spring. But in single cells, if you go at it and seriously deal with them, and I'm kind of thinking they must have gone at them with a herbicide, then you end up with a second bloom coming in on you. So, okay, let me see, I think I've, just moving on to a little bit different subject, I did participate and monitor the counting of the herring this year down there at Bridge Pond, and Herring Pond was added in the counting for this year. And I must say that was very well volunteered. The training session, I think there must have been at least 20 people there, and most of the times when I went to count, someone else was already at the culvert down here on Herring Brook Road doing the count as well. But the general statement is across all of the Cape, the people are reporting fewer herring this year for whatever reason. And I think, Jim, you offered the observation that there was an earlier run that people...
they come through when it's like 50 degrees, and that was early April, late March, when usually they start the second week of April.
Yeah, so, and the professionals have not gone over the data yet to come back and tell us
The
exactly
Goals
what
were
was
out there
going
gobbling
on.
a little bit earlier this year.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see them that early.
Yeah, but that's all part of nature, you know. If you don't keep varying the schedule, then you build up the pests that then do you in. But you keep them guessing as to when you're coming and what you're gonna do when you get there. All right, let's see. I think, what do we got? I'm just kind of looking. I see down in the schedules that on the 8th of November, that would be voting day. So I put on the schedule here that we'd meet a week later, the 15th of November. Normally, we meet the second Tuesday of the month, so I guess that's the third, comes up with being the third Tuesday of the month. I don't know if anybody sees any difficulty with that, but that's, Jane, I guess you, or Janet, you don't have to worry about that one.
Good.
Okay. I think that's it. That's all the comments that I had. Does anybody else have a,
Yeah, well, one, we have the minutes.
oh, yeah, right, we gotta do the minutes.
And I happened to come across our nitrate report. I think there should be 3 here. Yeah. Pass those out. I should have it here. My nitrate, report card. And it occurred to me, and I must say, all the years that I was getting this thing, I never knew what was the significance of what this thing was, why they were testing the water for nitrates. And admittedly, that there is one purpose to testing the water for nitrates, which is if your nitrate level gets up to 10 or so, you're in trouble. But I think, as we were repeatedly told during, the discussions of the municipal water system, a primary reason for the nitrate screening here was to determine the level of septic infiltration as it related to the need for a municipal water system. This notice, unfortunately, does nothing to tell people that that's what's going on. I mean, I never knew when I was getting this card before I joined this committee, that basically if I had a nitrate level of above 2, which I did this last time around, it meant there was some septic infiltration in my well water. And I also noticed, which I'd never noticed before, that it says it's the Eastham Health Department Water Management Committee, nitrate water screening. So I'm just wondering if there should be some consideration of revising this card in some way, both to make the point about the nitrate, what is the significance of the nitrate levels per se as nitrate, and also what is their significance as an indicator of septic infiltration. It would seem that that is as important an issue as the issue of whether or not you're approaching the dangerous nitrate level of 10. So I didn't try to rewrite it or anything. I thought unless people think it's worthwhile to try it, I'd take a hand at it, and then we can see what Jane has to say. But it seems important for people to understand, like, if this came back and it said 4, what that would mean about your well water. And in fact, there is some belief that if you're above 1, you've got infiltration. But certainly if you're above 2, everybody agrees that there's infiltration. So.
I think that's a great idea. Because if you get these, then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, that's great. I have a number on a piece of paper. How does
Yeah.
that affect my life, and why are you telling me?
Right.
Is-
And it's less than 5, so I guess I can throw it away and forget about it.
Is 5 a bad
Yeah.
number? It doesn't really give you a frame of
Yeah.
reference.
Yeah.
It just
Also,
is-
when you get a 1 or a 2 or less than a 1 and your neighbor gets a 17, you're like, you get to be concerned. You want to talk to your neighbor about what's going on next door.
You actually have a neighbor, and that discrepancy?
Yeah, it was that high. It's 3 doors up. Yeah.
Is
That's,
that
Well,
public
that
record?
must be because their
There's something
septic
yeah.
has probably failed.
Is that
Yeah.
possible to see your neighbors? Is that?
They brought it up as a matter of discussion because they were
they were-
working with me and drinking bottled water, and I go, why? They brought it to my attention, it wasn't something, but again, it's a public record, you could go upstairs and see
Yeah.
anybody's on either side of your house if you so chose to do so.
I think that we could even gather it off one of the web pages, right? They have all the numbers, they're color coded, right?
Oh, yeah, the map, that's true, yeah, one of the maps that was used during the lead up to the municipal water system. Yeah, no, it also like, we have a neighbor, he's not right next to us, but a few houses down, and he's got a 9, he's been very concerned about it. He thinks basically it's coming from an old cesspool.
It could be.
That
That's
he
true,
thinks
too,
was
that's
never
not been
really-
identified or
yeah.
closed, because there are several of those in
Yeah,
town.
yeah,
Again, your testing technique is up to you, the individual, have you run the water fully 5 minutes, have you used a
yeah,
bathroom tub as opposed to a swivel
yeah.
sink? So you gotta be,
Yeah.
I didn't ask those questions, I just said 17, I can see why you're drinking bottled water.
Well, 17, I would say, no matter whether he ran it for 5 minutes or not, he's got a problem.
Probably didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we've heard some numbers like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy who had 19 over in the Bayside down there.
It's amazing how varies it can be, even at close distances. And even your own numbers, if you take, I mean, they recommend, 3 years between testings? Some people do it more frequently, and the numbers can vary based on the season or how
Yeah.
late in the season you do it. I've had customers who took it traditionally in the spring. I do about 30 of them a year for different, as property manager. And some people who do it later in the fall, for whatever reason, they just choose to do it then. Usually the numbers are higher, and the only thing I can account for is that there's been use of the seasonal property prior to the testing for
Yeah,
the 3 months.
and probably seasonal properties around them too,
Right,
yeah.
right, so.
So that there's been a lot more activity in the
It's a
groundwater.
lot to be evaluated in that number.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think it's a great idea, because then people would understand the significance, and you'd get more buy-in, and it could start more discussion of people who wouldn't necessarily be involved or care. That, and they do sometimes, as far as like compliance things, if you put out like, well, this is what your neighborhood kind of looks like, sort of thing, if you wanted to get like down the road, as far as getting people to understand what that means and care about it. And then if you want some sort of change in behavior or
Yeah.
I'm surprised to see that water management committee up there. It's just like, it
Yeah, well, I
just
know.
jumped out at me that you pointed it out, because you always just go right for the number and smile, and you don't read that heading up there. But I'm surprised that our name is attached to that. Our
Yeah.
committee is
I
attached.
never really
I
noticed
never
any.
recognized that.
Yeah. You know-
Going, trying to clear out old papers.
Yeah. You know, there may be value in just doing a letter every year that summarizes the findings that came in, just how many highs, how many lows. That would make it a public document that would be a little bit more easily read for folks. And we do, what is it, I think? Didn't I hear Jane say 300 samples or so a year?
Mhm.
Is
Something
it
like.
that few? I thought it was a third of the
It's a third of the town.
town, which would be closer to
Right.
2,000, wouldn't it?
Right, but in terms of, since it is voluntary,
Oh,
people-
how many people?
how many people
comply?
actually
Yeah.
respond?
Don't
And-
know that number.
But 300 readings is a good number, that's pretty
Yeah.
indicative
I
of,
thought there was some, because remember Roger did some analysis on that quite a while ago. I remember that.
yes, he
And
did, didn't
he
he?
looked at it, so there must be a summary.
Now,
I mean, I know.
I don't know if he did the summary himself, he might have done that.
But
Because it was a-
but the data must be around.
Oh,
to
yeah,
be able
sure,
to
well,
do it.
it's in the, it all ends up in the Board of Health here.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's a couple of things I don't know. It's including, there's many more than I sent them out to. And is Raiders spelled that way? I don't know.
That's the way I had it, so I don't know either. I don't know why I put it,
I thought it's, just if you just add the word including, then it's okay.
Oh, you're a little
On
ahead.
the draft.
Adele, I was, yes, if you could draft up something of a report that perhaps would be a little bit.
No, I'm not looking for a report yet. That's someplace down the line.
No.
I'm more interested in individual people understanding this. Also, people are going to be making decisions as to whether or not
Hook up or not?
to hook up to the water system. And I think an individual understanding the significance of their nitrate report is relevant to the decision they might make. It would also be useful to educate the public generally about this. But I also think there's a reason to educate the particular individual as to what their numbers mean.
Yes, I didn't mean to say report, just.
Oh, I see, okay.
document there.
Yeah.
You're correct with the spell.
Yeah, I must have just gone on memory that I've seen it on signs, so that's the way I wrote it down.
No, you're right, to cross my comment out.
So, well, then, do you want to move on to the minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you have a capital T. Hey,
So we have a
That's all right
motion
with me.
to
sorry?
accept the minutes,
T and arrives at P.
I move to accept the minutes as written.
and so discussion on it. I have not read these myself, so.
I just suggested that Adele's listed some of the places that I gave the brochures out to, that she said, added the words including, then it covers.
Okay.
I noticed on Thursday there was only about 7 of the pond brochures at the town's natural resource office when I bought my tickets. People were standing
The
in
beach
line.
sticker? I handed them out because the line was so
I know,
long.
there's quite a line there.
I walked down it
Everybody
and
was
I said,
reading them.
here's your beach reading. And then the thing was full
Oh, okay,
when because I put more in it
okay.
on the day before, or whatever it was, Memorial Day. And then you left them actually at the office, right? Recreation office.
No, I didn't.
Oh.
I wasn't,
Somebody,
Charles
did,
was
I
supposed
did.
to
I
do
took
oh,
that.
you did, somebody, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, people were reading, they were paying attention to it.
well, but people said no thank you too.
Oh, I had that too.
God help them.
Janet, you were talking about the Capitol in front of 2.
Yes.
Yes. I thought you meant the other way around.
Oh. The finger stayed down on the caps key too long.
You know how you type a password in and they often don't let you see what you're typing? My wife was typing a password that had parentheses in it. And she was using caps lock,
Oh,
Oh,
which doesn't do it. You have to hold the regular,
yeah.
but you couldn't figure out why she wasn't getting the password typed in right, because she kept doing it over and over again. Fortunately, not so many times they kicked her off, but.
So, we got all the adjustments in? So, those in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
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 It looks like unanimous. What have we got, 6 of us? Yes. Thank you.
Janet doesn't count anymore?
no, well, Adele wrote
Oh,
them.
7,
Seven.
excuse me, 7.
You said
I just
6.
Thank
assumed
you.
he didn't count.
This is your last meeting, right?
Yep.
You gonna go out and do any of this estuary sampling with us?
Me and boats don't work very well.
Don't Greek well, all right, okay.
Don't do well anymore.
Then we probably won't
I've
see you
got,
other than,
believe me, I have something just about every day already, so I'm,
look for your windmill weekend or on the,
You volunteer at Audubon, as far as I know.
oh no, Seashore too, I'm on 2 big dragonfly,
oh, the dragonfly.
grants, 3 actually now.
Oh,
Doing surveying for adult dragonflies, and that's a new initiative. And then we collect nymphs in 5 ponds to measure the mercury content. in them, and those are ones that are already sampled by the Park Service, and so we know about the water. And what's my third one? Maybe it's only two. No, the third one is our existing one for the dragonfly surveys. This other one is tremendously big, and I would not be here if it was a good day, because it's so cold we would have had to go out this afternoon. We have to be above 68 degrees in this protocol.
So what you're saying is you really just like dragonflies more than,
Yes,
Notice her earrings.
and I wore them on purpose. No, it's been great fun. I didn't know anything about them when I started.
So, well, all right, then we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Janet. I have dragonflies on my dashboard from Danforth.